Welcome to Movement Method. Movement Method is a way of kinetic learning specifically designed for children with autism, attention deficit disorder, ADD, ADHD, and many other neurocognitive conditions that require a different way of learning. We've been collaborating for about 10 years now with different universities, about 7 universities around the world, and we've come up with a system that works equally well in the classroom or the homeschool situation, for special ed or for general ed.
It is completely accepted within the scientific community that movement promotes learning, and there's so many reasons why. The most simple reason is that when we move, there is increased blood flow and oxygen to our brain, and we need oxygen to learn. Our brain also produces something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which you can think of as miracle growth for the brain. Our brain needs this to create learning connections. When we do any sort of rhythmic movement, for example rocking or balancing, then our cerebellum, which is the movement center of our brain, is also activated. The cerebellum has been found to connect to all of the rest of the brain, so that when the cerebellum is activated, the whole of your brain is activated. There is a special type of cell found within the cerebellum called the Purkinje cell. And scientific studies have found that children with autism specifically have a deficit in the number of Purkinje cells in their cerebellum. The Purkinje cell has a really important job. Its job is to provide output from the cerebellum to the rest of the brain. So in the case of children with autism who have a deficit in the number of Purkinje cells, we know that these types of rhythmic movements cause them to produce lots and lots of Purkinje cells, thus activating the rest of their brain and causing it to develop. The part of the brain that's particularly important in this is the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for planning, emotional regulation, and other forms of higher level reasoning. We know that these are things that kids with autism struggle with. And what we now know is that movement will cause these parts of the brain to be activated, which will cause them to develop in ways that we didn't think was possible a few years ago. Movement also stimulates the activation of the vestibular system, which is found in the inner ear and is responsible for balance and attention. Attention is something that autistic kids often struggle with, and so of course do children with ADD and ADHD. So again, movement actually helps these kids to pay attention for longer, and it does it much more effectively than drugs such as Ritalin would. There's a really interesting case study which highlights how important movement is to learning. There was one school district, the Naperville School District. They had a really innovative head of physical education that convinced the school board that they should actually increase the amount of time that the children spent in physical education every day, and crucially to start each day with what they called 0 hour. The kids had to start each day with 45 minutes to an hour of intensive physical activity. What they found was that academic performance went up, so much so that when they entered the international competition in science and maths, the Naperville School District came in the top 10 for both of these subjects. In contrast, the United States normally comes in the low 20s or high 30s. What this case study really shows us is how important movement is to learning.
Visit us at kidsmustmove.com and click on the local trainers and online courses on the right-hand side of the page. We've created a number of courses at various levels, pre-KK, elementary, middle school and so on, in collaboration with the various universities we work with worldwide. They're all available on our website, kidsmustmove.com, and through our local trainers who are listed on that site. We've also trained a number of public and private schools across North America and Europe, so visit us at kidsmustmove.com and welcome to the adventure.